Item 10, it's been moved by Councillor Dalton and seconded by Matua Kake. So it's the Marae Infrastructure Program Funding Allocation Guidelines. So tēnā korua, John and Roslyn. And Luann. So it's on the table for discussion, and I'll just get everybody to introduce themselves to the committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, committee members. We will introduce ourselves, then Ros will just introduce the report. I'll just make a couple of brief comments and then open up to questions. So I'm John Dragicevic, and I was introduced at the start by our chair, and I'm the manager of strategic projects, of which this program forms part of.
Good morning, Rosalind Petty-Morris. I'm the program principal for Marae Development.
Kia ora koutou, Luann Valentine. I'm the Māori Outcome Lead for the Chief Planning Office. I was involved in the program previously, so this is a bit of a handover. Kia ora.
Through the chair, we take the report as read, and would like to just give a quick summary of the program and the funding guideline for those that haven't heard about it before. So the program is a $60 million program that will be delivered over 10 years. It's a non-contestable fund. The program seeks to deliver safe, healthy and warm marae and endeavours to make sure that marae are around for future generations to utilise. Following support from the Environment and Community Committee in August of 2019, where we got support for the program, we are now requesting support for the funding allocation guideline, which provides direction for the delivery of the program. The funding allocation guideline identifies marae that are eligible. There's currently 32, which are listed in the report. Marae that are not eligible, so we're talking church marae, school marae, institutional marae. We talk about what's in scope from an infrastructure point of view, and it identifies the priorities of work. So, for example, our top priority is to make sure that the buildings have a building warrant of fitness, that we increase code of compliance where possible. We're definitely looking at all the health and safety requirements, that making sure that our whānau are safe within the marae footprint, and we're looking at wastewater and water infrastructure. The program focuses on physical works related to the wharenui, which is the meeting house, the wharekai, so the kitchen dining area, wharepaku, which is the toilets and showers, and as I just mentioned, water and wastewater infrastructure. We are really excited that the first physical works via a development agreement with the Kaipara Coast Marae is set to start on Monday next week. We have also worked with this marae to appoint our first social procurement contractor, which is a Māori-owned business that will be heading up the physical works. So this builder was already the marae's preferred builder that they use, so we set about setting them up in the council system, and he has a Māori apprentice that he has, so we're looking to do social procurement where we can as well with this program. And also I just wanted to highlight that the program to date has provided urgent works for 7 marae. This has included asbestos removal, roof leaks, ceiling leaks, sprinkler repairs and electrical work. Yeah, so that's where we're at to date. John?
Yeah, I'd just like to briefly cover some of the items that I referenced when we reported in August in the context of this program, which has some uniqueness in the context of a normal council program of work, because we don't own these assets. This is a little bit like someone coming into your house and pointing out the flaky paint and maybe some maintenance challenges. Relationship is a major component of this program, and the relationship ongoing as we enter into the house that these trusts own and manage. And also trust is a key component. This is a long time coming, this program, to recognise the important contribution that marae make to the Auckland community. Late last year, we also recognised that relationship is so key. We effectively undercooked the resources that we have invested in that. So we have had approved through our director, Ian, for an additional resource to work contemporaneously with ROS in developing the relationship agreements and enabling us to get a bit more impetus as the condition ratings come on stream. We're happy to take any questions through the chair.
Any questions? Councillor Dalton.
Ati Maria. I support the Marae Infrastructure Program and absolutely support the social procurement. That's a really good outcome for Kaipara. I just have a couple of strategic questions. So I read the report from August last year, and I've read this report and I've read the guidelines, and it talks about achieving the Auckland Plan focus area of investing in marae to be self-sustaining and prosperous. And it talks about the IMSB's position on empowering marae as our cultural markers. So there needs to be some support for capacity building to ensure that marae have certainty of internal capability to be empowered to succeed within the Māori Outcomes Framework. So my first question is there another piece of work running alongside yours as you go to the permanent guidelines that incorporates backboning it with capacity and capability building? You've talked about the relationships and relationship agreements and having an additional resource. I'm just wondering if that is aligned alongside Te Waka Angamoa, perhaps CEU, IMSB.
I'll let Luann just ask that wide question, because I left out one important signal that I signalled to the committee last August, and that is we will be preparing a proposal for the coming LTP to recognise that this investment needs ongoing support. Many of these marae have not got the funding to take out insurance, and Ros actually referenced some of the things we've done as a matter of urgency. So, we believe that insurance to maintain and protect the investment that we are providing can be enduring. There are, it's mostly run by volunteers, where they do have permanent staff, they're cleaners and admin, and you need to just sort of think about this marae network compared to all the other community buildings we have where the council funds depreciation. People just have to come in, use the room and leave. So our proposal that will come to you for consideration is to recognise that marae play an important part, not just for the Maori community, but for the whole community of Auckland. Emergency welfare centres, they're utilised by other members of the community. Often the houses are open to all. So effectively something will be coming, because we also believe that asset management in the context of councils a huge size, that we can provide and should provide asset management support, long-term maintenance planning for the marae. So we've recognised through this program that there's more that we believe needs to do. It's not build and walk away, it's build and support.
Luann.
Through the chair, so thank you for your question. In terms of the capacity building, we have recognised that as an issue, and the program itself will support marae where it can, in terms of capacity around the assets. So as John pointed out, of the ongoing maintenance, but also how the marae might be able to use their resources themselves to kind of cover those areas as well. We also have the Cultural Initiatives Fund, which is an annual contestable fund of 1.2 million. So the marae can also access that for some of their capacity building. We also work with the other marae funders, so Foundation North, Te Puni Kokiri, and Department of Internal Affairs as well, to see where they might be able to support capacity building, as they run quite a few programs, and they support programs and training that the marae can access to support the delivery of this and ongoing maintenance. Kia ora.
And just one follow-up,
Yep.
if I may. So given that now the Te Waka Angamoa and the Maori Outcomes Framework has got most of their SME leads in place, I just feel like there's an opportunity. I can see the priorities that are coming, that fall into the guidelines, and it's solely around the assets. But there's an opportunity to leverage the priorities with the work that is happening within Te Waka Angamoa and with IMSB as well, around the work that they're doing in individual maraes, which might raise a priority, may raise a marae's priority, but also enable leverage. And I'm thinking there'll be some cost efficiencies, cost savings and efficiencies in there to ensure that there is sustainability, not just around the assets, but around the capacity and capability, around some of the things that you just spoke about, Luanne. How can they use those assets? So I'm asking, is there a regional overview of the program, of the potential, and is it aligned with the work that is within the Māori Outcomes Framework?
So through the chair, Te Waka Angamoa are working on a broader marae framework or strategy that will be region-wide. We're quite mindful as well that we have Te Kotahi Tamaki, which is a marae collector, so we've been working with them around that, along with the individual engagement as well. So we're working on that, and please watch this space. I think at this stage is what I'll say.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Casey, then Mulholland, and then Matuakake.
Luanne, I'm glad you mentioned the Māori Cultural Initiatives Fund, because that's what took us to our marae visits as part of the former committee. But will we need to change the guidelines for that fund, because there's a certain amount of crossover between that fund and this new, these new guidelines and this new allocation of money? So do we need to revisit that?
Through the chair, yes, there is some potential crossover. One of the reasons the SIF is the way it is, and we're wanting to keep it in the way it currently is because some of the prioritisation means that some of the marae may not be able to access through the MIP program, or the Marae Infrastructure Program, until a few years down the track. So the SIF the Cultural Initiatives Fund is there in the meantime. So. But also, that's one of the reasons why this is an interim guideline as well. So we can look at those and see whether the Cultural Initiatives Fund criteria does need to change and maybe fill some gaps as well.
And just to a plug for the site visits to the marae, absolutely astonishing time for councillors to see. We spend a lot of time allocating funds, and we very rarely hear directly from the people who are affected positively by those funds. And it's really uplifting to also visit places that we've never been before. So I'm really hopeful that you will carry on that fine tradition.
So the question is, will that continue, hopefully?
Most definitely on our radar, and Jane Aitken, who is our Māori Outcome Lead for Community and Customer Services, will definitely be picking that up.
She's listening. Councillor Mulholland.
Kia ora, nice to see you here today. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity. Just with regards to your comment, Mr. Dragicevic, on the basis of a proposal to the LTP, I absolutely support that. One of the comments you have just made is talking about building and supporting. You do mention the matter of insurance. So my question to you is this, and it's one I fully support, obviously, or I wouldn't raise it. Will you be working alongside a Māori brokerage insurance organisation? Because I would hope, from my understanding, there is only one, from what I've been looking at with marae in my travels recently, there is only one Māori brokerage organisation that has the kaupapa of working alongside Māori and marae in not only Auckland but Aotearoa up north. So will you be working alongside a specifically Māori appointed brokerage to ensure you have support for insurances for marae?
Through the chair, we're working through Auckland Council's insurance arm mainly to get the critical mass efficiency of our buying power, because the private approach that some of these marae made to seek their insurance was astronomical. And once again, as many homeowners do, they had to make a judgment insurance or to get something else actually done. And that was an eye-opener to Roz and myself in the context of the struggle in this part of the community that we're looking at to keep things moving on, and you just got to take your hat off, and which is why we sought approval to use this fund to effectively cover the insurance through our organised insurance, getting the best price, and the best price is significantly cheaper than what they can get on the market. So I will take it to our insurance, I will raise the issue, but what we have determined to do, it's not, once again, one annual premium and walk away. We're going to be seeking through the L2P that this is ongoing. Then there's a guarantee that the investment will be covered, because Councillor Clacy referenced visiting a marae. If you just take a think that if all these marae shut down tomorrow, there will be a significant challenge for council to actually balance what they're giving to the community at the moment and what they're effectively doing on our behalf. So this is sort of trying to fulfil the sense of benefit that we're getting through their goodwill and commitment. So in the proposal we're putting forward will be covered, but Councillor, we will raise that issue with our insurance people.
Supplementary. So on the basis of that reply, are you aware that Honi Waititi, for example, has worked alongside a specific Māori insurer brokerage organisation, one that apparently has put the substantive savings from the statement that you've made? We're aware, I am actually aware, that marae have been overcharged and not serviced sufficiently for replacement, not only of precious taonga, but carvings and so forth. So there's a greater picture, I understand, in this process. So are you aware that there is this type of organisation in the community? They are actually putting those savings, from my understanding, straight back into marae. I just think it's an awareness, and it's protocol, and it's culturally appropriate and reasonable. So are you aware of an organisation like that?
Through the chair, yes, we are aware of one. I'm not sure if it's the same one that you're talking about. We have had a meeting with her, and we did talk about maybe having workshops where she can talk to marae about how they could access better insurance. Through the program, we are valuing each marae when we do the condition assessment. So that's an up-to-date value of the taonga and the carvings, etc., which is provided to the marae so that they know where they stand. And from that, we do see that marae have been, ones that have paid insurance, have undervalued the value of their marae. Once the works that we finish have been completed, the valuation will do a desktop analysis and add on those works and pass that over to the marae.
Can I just, kia ora, I'm so grateful that you're doing that work, because we need to support that process so that it's fair, equitable, and that those precious taonga and carvings, that an organisation, a corporate, doesn't just walk in, put a big huge bill in front of them and everyone gets shocked. And so kia ora tātou for that great work. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Chair.
That's all right. You moved into comments, but that's, yeah.
Kia ora, thank you. It was associated.
Yeah. So, Matuakake, questions?
I'll save it for the comment.
Well, there's no further questions, so I'll go straight to you in regards to comments. Kia ora.
Okay, so first comment is, look, I've been in and out of this committee for the last 9 years, and this is a significant improvement in terms of the, I guess, the commitment to the dollars, first of all, from this council. The 60 million over 10 years that's been tabled is awesome, absolutely awesome. When I compare it to the investment in other council facilities, we've still got a little way to go, but it's a lot better than what it was. I turned to Councillor Casey's fund, and that was, again, I agree with the let's review, and I know it's interim guidelines, and so that I think there is some duplication or some scope there that we could add to make sure. I'm not suggesting we lose that fund, but I'm suggesting that we make sure that there isn't duplication. The question, or the comment I would like to make is what proportion of those funds actually, when you're building your assets or your buildings and so on, actually come back to council, the consents and all that kind of stuff. So, I know you can GST, zero rate GST in some areas. Is there capacity for that kind of thinking in the scope of these guidelines? Because a lot of the funding that we do get, we actually end up paying it back to council for the compliance stuff. And I say that in the context of I work on a marae every day, folks. I'm from Papakura Marae, and John, we've got 62 staff out there. And so, I consider us quite fortunate, and over 41 services that we provide out of that place. So I give the offer to this committee to have one of your committee meetings over this term at my marae. I extend that invitation to you. And I'd love to celebrate the council contributions. We're on council land. But also just the relationship, which is very important, that we've had with council going back to about the 70s as a marae. But the scope, I think, is worth investigating more, having a bit more time, and I invite you again to work with marae itself around what's included, because I get the theme around regulatory and compliance, but that again is I kind of interpret that as making council look good, as opposed to achieving Māori outcomes. All right, so kia ora, but great investment. Thank you.
Kia ora, no more comments. Tēnā rā koutou katoa, and let's get into our marae. So it's been moved and seconded. I will put the